Hello, welcome back. You know the feeling. You're sitting in a meeting and you have something valuable to contribute, and then someone asks for your opinion. You're looking for the words, they're not there. Your heart beats a little faster and your mind goes blank. You nod and smile instead of speaking. And afterwards you replay this moment through in your mind. What went wrong? You know the language, you can speak English. Why couldn't you say it? So what happened? In today's lesson, I want to answer this question. I've been teaching English online for over 5 years, and this is a question that comes up a lot. In my previous experience with psychology, the same problem rears its ugly head. So today we will talk about that and hopefully help you understand what's going on and develop techniques to stop it being a problem for you. The answer might surprise you. It's not grammar, it's not speaking English, it's confidence. My name's Mike Fox and I'm a professional English coach. I'm also a qualified careers counsellor. I've been working teaching English online for over 4 years now. I was a careers coach for over 5 years, and I've done many other jobs. I also have a first-class honours degree in psychology, and I then studied at postgraduate level still in psychology. I've spent thousands of hours working with professionals, managers, teachers, lawyers, everyone from all walks of life. And it may put your mind at ease a little bit. This problem affects everyone. Because today I want to explain what's going on. And it might surprise you that it's not an English language problem. My experience has shown me that this is rooted in psychology. So let's start with your body. Because most English teachers won't talk about this, this may be a little new to you. Our bodies have evolved over thousands of. When you're put on the spot in a meeting, when your boss talks to you, you feel a moment of pressure, a moment of stress, possibly a moment of anxiety, and our bodies react in a certain way. The brain reads this as a threat. Not a life-ending threat, but a threat nonetheless. And your brain responds the same way that it has done for thousands of years. It triggers what we call the fight or flight response. You may notice this in your heartbeats a little faster. Your breathing becomes a little more shallow. What you may not notice is that the blood flows away from your brain towards the muscles, because you need them if you're going to run or if you're going to stay and fight. The blood moves away from your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain where language is processed, where we do clear thinking, where we make decisions. And that's important in this modern world. And the cruel irony of this is that just when you need your brain to work for you, it stops. Your body is actively shutting down your brain. And this is why you can speak English confidently when you're chatting to your friends, when there's no pressure, when there's no stress. But the moment you're put on the spot, the moment there is stress, the fight or flight response kicks in and your mind goes blank. Words that you know are suddenly gone. So it's not your English that's failing, it's your nervous system. It's thousands of years of human evolution. The good news is we can do something about that. Because once you understand this, you know it's not just a matter of practicing English. That can be important. It is also a matter of gaining confidence. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 things that consistently hold professionals back. The number one problem that I see is fear of making grammar mistakes. I worked with a project manager from Brazil. She was genuinely respected by everyone, really had a good level of English and could speak fluently. She made complex decisions every day, but in group meetings, she froze. She couldn't speak clearly. She told me her throat would tighten and she was silent. I know what I want to say. I'm just terrified of saying it, terrified of getting it wrong. When we explored this together, it became clear that she'd learned English in a very formal academic setting. And in that setting, making mistakes was associated with failure. It was marked wrong. You weren't meant to do it. And that conditioning from school stayed with her. So here's what I told her and what I'm telling you today. Native English speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. If you look at this video, play it back, I'm sure you'll be able to find many mistakes that I've made. In everyday conversations, in business meetings, in real workplaces, no one is marking you on your grammar. They're not checking to make sure that you are entirely correct. It really is okay to make the odd mistake because people are really listening to your ideas. They really want to know what you're saying. Fluency and confidence will always create a better impression than perfect grammar. The person who speaks imperfectly but clearly and confidently will always be perceived as more professional. Fear of grammar mistakes is not an English problem. It's a perfectionism pattern. And in my experience of working with psychology, perfectionism has more to do with the relationship with failure than it has to do with the task itself. This means it can be worked on, it can be changed. You know what you want to say. In your first language, you'd say it straight away. But in English, under pressure, the word just isn't there. My clients often describe this as the words disappearing. A really frustrating experience because you know the word, you really know the word. You've used it before, but right now when you need it, it's just not there. And this makes complete sense when you understand what your brain is doing. In your first language, speaking is largely automatic, but in a second language, your brain is trying to do all these different things. Translate your thoughts, monitor your grammar, listen to the conversation, and formulate a response. On top of that, it's also managing your anxiety about how you're coming across at this moment. This is an enormous cognitive load. And when your fight or flight response kicks in, wow, you have fewer mental resources available to you. You struggle. So that words that are genuinely in your vocabulary, that normally they're there, they just don't show up when you need them. A practical solution that I work on with my clients is use bridging phrases. Natural English expressions while sounding completely fluent. Things like, that's a really interesting point. Let me think about that for a moment. If I understand you correctly, you're asking about, I'd like to come back to that. Let me talk about this. They signal to the room that you're thoughtful and you are engaged. And this increases how competent you appear, and they give your brain a few extra seconds to think about what you're going to say next. Used well, they don't sound like stalling. In fact, native speakers use them all the time. They make you sound like someone who thinks before they speak. That is considered a strength. Number 3, and this one is perhaps the most psychological of all. Many of the professionals that I've worked with, they've built up a very precise mental picture of what it's like when they make mistakes in front of colleagues. In this mental picture, people notice immediately, and the professional's credibility quietly erodes. I call this catastrophizing. And the evidence doesn't support it. There's a well-known concept in psychology called the spotlight effect. It describes the tendency to believe that people are watching us, judging us far more than they actually are. In reality, your colleagues in the meeting are more concerned about their contribution, their performance review, their upcoming deadline, what they're having for lunch even, logging your pronunciation. And more than that, in most professional circles, the fact that you are speaking in a second or a third language is quietly impressive. Many native English speakers that I've worked with over time are in awe of another person's ability to speak a second or a third language. What they do notice, and what genuinely affects how you're perceived and engaged. And those are things that we can work on. If you recognise any of those things I've spoken about in your own speaking of English, if you recognise anything of yourself in the 3 patterns that we've discussed, the fear of grammar mistakes, the words disappearing under pressure, the worry about what people think, I want to be really clear about this. What I've described is patterns of thinking and the response of the nervous system. This can be understood and it can improve your performance. The fight or flight response can be managed. The fear of mistakes can be reframed. And once you see the catastrophizing clearly, it tends to lose a lot of its power. In future videos, I will go into techniques that you can use to help you in these scenarios. And if what I've spoken about today resonates with you, please get in contact. I've worked with hundreds of students to help them improve their confidence and their fluency. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today. I hope you found it useful. If you want to hear more from me, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.